G20 not talking about this persistent dollar decline. It's orderly. Maybe that's the reason. But you can see it played out in all of the major pairs. And it's difficult actually to strip out whether it is dollar weakness or the strength of those other currencies, such as the case of sterling, which I suppose you could argue that it is, because we didn't get as much quantitative easing announced by the Bank of England last week as anticipated, and that tends to be currency supportive. We'll go through the two of the biggest trading pairs, euro-dollar firstly, approaching that 150 mark, enormous implications if we get 150 and past for the European export story, so that's going to have to get discussed. But look at that trajectory. It's just absolutely pivotal, and it's only going in one direction. Dollar-yen has been another one that's mystified me and a lot of other people, saying extremely strong at 90.09. Whatever concerns you about the U.S. economy, it has to concern you doubly about the Japanese economy, and yet people are buying into the currency. It's something I've not quite got my head around. Sebastien Barbe, though, might be able to help us out. He's a senior economist and strategist for the Asia ex-Japan region at Calyon Corporate and Investment Banking. Sebastien, let me hit you right away with what's going on with the yen. It seems incredibly strong at the 90 mark. I thought after those tax breaks would expire that it would get weaker, but it hasn't.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what is behind this strength of the Japanese yen, I think, is mostly, to be frank, the US dollar story. We are back in a world where increasingly the US dollar is used as a funding currency for carry trades, for more risky trades. And I think every other currency, every other single currency is benefiting versus US dollar. Maybe you have an additional factor, which is the recent comment about the Japanese yen level by the Japanese government, which may a little bit support the Japanese yen currently. But I would say the main important factor is really US dollar softness, and this is likely to continue, I would say, in the next something like 3 to 4 months.
3 to 4 months. So do you think that the U.S. administration right now, Tim Geithner, do you think they really believe in the strong dollar policy?
I mean, it's hard to say. I think it's likely they don't want to see too strong depreciation of the US dollar, because they don't want to get the US dollar out of control. That being said, I mean, given the big challenges you have for the U.S. economy in 2010, and we had this job report on Friday, which was very challenging, I should say, I think the U.S. administration is likely to be okay with U.S. dollar not too strong, but of course they want to avoid a collapse. So I think it's a kind of difficult balancing act, but I think they would be okay maybe with some additional but controlled depreciation of the U.S. dollar.
Sebastien, China has been vocal yet again about the concern of persistent dollar weakness. But here's my problem. 2/3 of their input costs are priced in U.S. dollars, and 2/3 of their foreign exchange reserves are in U.S. dollars. Surely dollar weakness is a wash at worst for the Chinese economy.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy to be a Chinese policymaker currently, to be frank, because of the big amount of US dollar, which is of reserve, which is denominated in US dollar. Obviously, they don't want a US dollar crisis. They don't want a crisis on the US bond market. And I think at the end of the day, they will have to accept to tolerate more appreciation of the CNY if they want to reach a level where some US dollar depreciation can be done in a controlled way. I think this is one of the key to the US dollar management into 2010. I think China is very likely to resume the appreciation of the CNY. I think the sooner the better, because if they wait too much, then the appreciation pressure is going to build up and will be very difficult to control for the CNY. So it's very likely that this appeal, this call for the softness of the US dollar is going to end into some kind of controlled reappreciation of the CNY versus US dollar as soon as the beginning of next year. Maybe 5 to 6% yearly in the next 2 to 3 years is a reasonable target for PBOC to achieve.
Well, Sebastien, you just mentioned you see another 3 to 4 months of U.S. dollar weakness. Does that mean another 3 to 4 months of appreciation for the high-yielding currencies?
Yeah, I think so. To be frank, I think high-yielding currencies, commodity currencies, emerging market currencies which are a little bit more risky than the completely safe asset, like Korean won, Indian rupee. I think all these currencies are going to continue to appreciate in the next 3 to 4 months. And even beyond that point, Asian currencies, which are supported by a good prospect for economic growth, are likely to continue to appreciate versus US dollar, even if the US dollar itself stabilizes versus euro. I think, to be frank, looking forward, it's more emerging market appreciating versus US dollar, euro, Japanese yen, than swings between euro and US dollar and Japanese yen themselves. I think it's emerging market up versus the G3 currencies.
Okay, thank you so much. Sebastien Barbe, Senior Economist and
pleasure.
Strategist for Asia ex-Japan at Calyon Corporate and Investment